wa Man nankuba eryanda enkya wasanga Arsenal n'abagamba ndi wammwe n'abakuba eryanda kakati eggulu singa Liverpool bagikubye na Ronaldo kujja wano ng'agambye ffe aba Liverpool twakoze bubi kwegamba ali awo abuzaabuza. But the good thing, he does sports here, and every morning we do precisely what's making headlines in the world of sports. How are you?
Good morning, Edgar.
How are you feeling?
Good morning, Uganda. I think I have a mixed feeling. I'm not happy, and neither am I perturbed, because some of the teams that I support, only that you already gave me that introduction.
Some of the teams, when a team mmekanga tobuzabuza.
Some of the teams that I support did not do well last evening. Edgar knows better.
Why do I get a Fulham?
Edgar knows better Edgar knows better how Fulham disappointed me.
Okay.
But anyway, Edgar, we had some action in the Women FIFA Super League, and that was between Kawempe Muslim and Shima. Very much better. Only yesterday they were disappointed. No, they were held to a draw, but you should have seen the Makerere University Women Football Club standard last evening. They performed better. I never expected such a result, especially when you visit the valley. When you go to Kawempe, you just don't score like that. You just, in the valley, you just don't score at the valley. You can't. You really can't. But Shimak managed to produce 2 goals, and Yidaya Nakayenze scored those 2 goals for Kawempe Muslim, while Sharon Namatov scored both goals for Shimak. Edgar, I think Mr. Moses, Mkata Moses, the assistant coach for Kawempe Muslim, he happens to assist Coach Ayubu Khalifa. I think yesterday, being at the helm of Kawempe Muslim, it was a challenge for him, serious challenge, especially in choice, the selection of players. We saw how he decided to play Krusum first before Namatovu. We saw how he decided to play Irene in goal before Juliet. Anyway, there were lots of talking points, but that was the result in the Women's Super League. We still have some fixtures coming up for the Women's Super League. However, we expect this weekend to be as tough as match day 6, Edgar. Simply because some of the teams, like UCU, teams like Kawempe Muslim, still on 14th on Sunday, they will again come back to have those other fixtures honored. But Edgar, your Kampala, but we talked about Kampala the other day. They were doing better anyway. They won 2-0. Their last result was 2-0. And in fact, they have lost one of their weapons, that is Fazila Ikwaput, who has actually traveled. And on her debut, she managed to score 2 goals. That tells you how much the standard was
the impact
at Kawempe Muslim. We really think Kampala Queens and Kawempe Muslim are the 2 giants in women football, and they have produced players who have actually not been shamed when they go to international level. You look at Ritisha Nabosa, who is doing well in Tanzania. Look at Inimbaba's Joanita, she's also doing well now. Fazila Ikwaput is another person who was actually impressed on her debut. Edgar, we really think Kawempe Muslim and Kampala Queens are 2 giants, not because they are teams owned by the big shots in football in Uganda, but because they have that standard. They have
Edgar,
the technical know-how matters. You may have money. You may have money, Edgar, and you do not produce results. That's a difference. Edgar, an example is here at Kacheka. There's everything. They have every kind of penny, but they're not producing results. By the way, you bring me to that topic. At Kacheka, we expect changes anytime from now, because last evening I was very close to one of the executive members of the city, that is Mbara City, and they were discussing if Bosa leaves, who else would replace them. I had names being mentioned, but I can guarantee you that Mukuru Musongola is one of the names that is likely to replace Bosa in case he does not sign a contract extension at Express. Remember, Alex Isabel Musongola has just 1 month for his contract. In fact, his contract should have expired yesterday. Therefore, he has from today up to 31st of January to discuss or to reread the other portal. They might give him an extension. I happened
to say he might also
I called Ashraf in the evening to ask him about the issues of Alex. He commented saying that the former coach Odoch is the one who is spreading this rumor that Musongola might leave Express. So
basically, Musongola hasn't even said anything.
Musongola has not said something about that. He's contented. However, as journalists, we are focused. We are actually focused at the expiry of his short-term contract. You know, he was given just 1 month contract, and the month has already elapsed. So we are waiting to see what happens next. We expect either Musongola to do a contract extension or Odoch to come back. But I doubt the percentage of chances that Odoch might come back to Express. Edgar, you cannot be held aside. You cannot be put aside for 1 month and you are recalled as a head coach in that short period of time. That is what we are experiencing at Express. Anytime from now, we shall have an announcement about the new coach or about the extension of the contract by Alex Isabire Musongola. Remember, Alex has produced a number of spectacular performances at Vipers when he won 2 trophies. That was the Uganda Cup and the sometimes FUFA Premier League, though he was demanded to produce 4 trophies, which was impossible for him at that time. Dr. Lawrence Mulindwa has a lot of demands. I doubt if Coach Mbabas is going to cope up with the demands. 4 trophies as they demand him. He has to win the CAF Confederations Cup, Uganda precisely. Cup, CAF Champions League, and at the same time, Uganda sometimes FUFA Premier League. Edgar, I just doubt that. I doubt.
It's close to impossible.
Close to impossible. He can manage to win 2. If we can say Uganda Cup and the Uganda sometimes FUFA Premier League, but the CAF Champions League, Edgar, Dr. Lawrence needs that standard set. That is why he keeps on to bring in these UEFA Pro coaches. That's why he brings in those Europeans. It's the reason that's why he goes for top-notch coaches. I think Dr. Lawrence is...
Mourinho.
He can. Dr. Lawrence has that passion. Jose Santos Felix Mourinho, who is at AS Roma now, I think he is trying to do something to rally up Africa. He mentioned something some time back about the African football. He says all the African players who are playing in Europe should come back and do the Champions League here at home. He says all these players who changed their citizenships and now are playing for European countries, he continues to rally them to come back and play for their home countries. He says, he's saying Africa should have had the potential to win all the World Cups if these players were playing for their native countries. And last week, Edgar, Mourinho had something to say about the African Cup of Nations. He actually rallied the European FA, the UEFA, in fact, the Union of European Football Association. He told them to give a break to all African players so that there are no fixtures put in that area when we have the African Cup of Nations going on. So literally, he says we must have 1 month break away from the European leagues. What a man! That's his. Actually, of course,
he has points, but I don't think.
Even the director of football development at FIFA, Mr. Arsene Wenger, came up to support that idea, saying it would help so that African players who are playing in Europe would have this chance representing their nations, and the whole world is focusing on African Cup of Nations, so that when they return to Europe, they will have more value. We should have had also other players, native players, having market the other side, because the whole world would be focusing on African Cup of Nations, as well as the clubs targeting these other African players, other than those who are already playing in Europe. Edgar, that's a story coming in from FIFA. Actually, it's a 2-day story. It's still under investigation. They are trying to do a pilot study to see if it is applicable to have a 1 month break from European leagues. Edgar, I think, Edgar, we should have something like that. Away from that, we have had a number of suggestions about the team of the season so far in the sometimes FUFA Premier League. Edgar, you also have something to say about your players. We are given a chance as supporters and football stakeholders to choose. You choose a player, you say, in this position, I stand to choose a certain player, and you submit the name via the FIFA website and FIFA social media platforms, so they will be considered when they are selecting the best players for the half of the season. Remember, we are talking about our game that's coming up in 19th, in that day, 19th of January, we shall have a game against Kuwait. But we have seen that squad, the selection, every person is complaining. Why is Paul Joseph Put not bringing in foreign best players to play now? The senior, the pros, why are they not coming? We have had 25 players chosen from our domestic leagues. However, there are also some, there are also some questions.
Foreign players, how many?
We have no foreign player here in this list.
No, but what I'm saying, how many are they 16, outside there? We
have 16 professionals, and every time they are called upon, we are having difficulties in team selection, and we find our players, domestic players, are left on the bench. They are also complaining. But now, there are complaints about non-selection of Travis Mutiaba. He was not selected. EDGAR, it has risen dust on every social media platform. Everybody is complaining why Travis is not featuring on this squad. Yet Paul Joseph Put has been watching SCVR games. Everybody is asking. And some other question is rising, especially from Barra City fans. They are complaining they have no representative. EDGAR City has had no representative for the national team since the days of Tembo. But they explained you should have had Karim Ramadan at least summoned. Also, the other side, the days of Hilary Mukundane, we used to have that call-up. He would be called up in the 25-man squad, but not selected in the first 11. But City fans would be... even up to now, but he had some injury. I think
so
that injury
he was right to be called up. Yeah, that's
the... It's enough for Barra people. I really think it's enough.
Anyway, we continue. But from Barra City, I think they have some good players. Their captain is good.
EDGAR, I think Kalim Ramadan should have
had competition, but he's also
has a lot of competition here and there.
He's very good.
I think that competition is the one that is making us, I think, suffer this time. Away from that, let's talk about netball. Uganda overwhelmed Wales last evening as they started their journey for the Paint Series, the World Paint Series. EDGAR, Uganda beat Wales 70. EDGAR, netball, we are doing well. We are doing well, but we were losing at halftime. We were losing 27-23. But so we came back from back. EDGAR, this is netball. Manchester United, actually, the netball.
Come back.
EDGAR, the netball from the Manchester United side. Anyway, we have the names of those players who started on that list for Uganda, for the She Cranes, the Uganda netball team. We had Mary Nuba, Bagala Margaret, Farida Kadondi, Adonia Florence, Nachito Christine, Eyalu Irene, and Sarah Nachiunga. We were training by halftime 27-23, but these girls managed to come back. That was last evening against Wales. Remember, Wales at a certain point last year, they made us struggle. 57-45 was the scoreline, but now things have changed. EDGAR, I think the She Cranes are doing us right. We have some other games against New Zealand. We have some other games against Fiji, one of the netball powerhouse in the world. Fiji is one of the best netballing nations in the world, EDGAR. Barbados also, but Barbados the other time we beat them overwhelmingly 72-25.
Is it higher than
EDGAR, Fiji is one of the netball powerhouses in the world. Fiji, New Zealand, England, those are the clubs that are actually taking us. EDGAR, you can look for that netball rankings. You can search and you look at Fiji. Away from that, we have had rumors. Rumors are saying that Manchester United are delaying the transfer of Jadon Sancho to Borussia Dortmund. However, yesterday they had direct talks between Borussia Dortmund and Manchester United, especially when it came to technical directors, they were discussing directly on phone. However, Manchester United showed an interest of a higher payment than the £4 million as earlier agreed, EDGAR. We really can't mention this because Jadon Sancho has been a point to talk about this year. He refused to apologize to Erik ten Hag, and this resulted into him being on the bench for almost half of the season. That's Jadon Sancho for you, who is actually on the verge of joining Borussia Dortmund. Away from that, EDGAR.
Again, the Fiji is in number 16
Brighton.
in the world rankings.
Yeah.
Uganda is in number 7.
EDGAR, you're looking at. EDGAR is looking at. EDGAR is looking at.
You have someone like Proskovia, not them.
EDGAR is looking at the world rankings of netball. These are the girls who have given us very hard time in the last.
That's true, by the way, Chibao. Yeah, like how Arsenal gives us hard time.
Because in Africa, Uganda now, as per rankings, minus the qualifiers that we did not play for the next World Cup. We are not part of the next World Cup simply because of our management issues. The past rankings were better from 2019-2020 up to 2021. We're 2 points ahead of Fiji, that is 16th. And when we came to 7th position, that is when we reached at the semi-finals of the Netball World Cup in South Africa.
I followed netball. I don't think nothing happened when I followed netball.
We were on the verge of bringing that trophy home, but
South Africa kagenda yagira fulembi batrobaho.
You know how much those girls gave in everything, especially when they were not even earning.
The likes of Nasanga, those
guys
were bloody.
Anisha Muhammad.
I'm telling you,
EDGAR. Remember, those girls are still demanding for their allowances. Since then, they have not been paid.
And the beast was injured then, Proskovia.
Yeah, Proskovia. By the way, EDGAR, talking about the she cranes, we really have to pity these girls who have been training in Kamocha without even drinking water. And now when you see they are training against Wales in halftime, you really have to pity these girls. They are giving in each and everything they can afford, but they're not getting it.
And to the foul as a country, but I think we concentrate more on
football.
But how? But even football.
And football is not producing results.
Football is just concentrating.
That is it.
You've never probably went into those that cranes come.
No, those guys are not crying anymore. There's no national team that is as better as the Uganda Cranes. I can tell you.
One of West Africa.
In East Africa, there is no team that is looked after very well other than the Uganda Cranes. I can guarantee you that. But the problem is we are not producing. You can also Google. We are not producing results. That's the problem, EDGAR. You can also Google. A player on the national team, the Uganda Cranes, is valued at 100,000 every day. EDGAR, who gets 100,000 per player? We have 23 players, and you're calculating. You're saying meals only. A player is catered for by 100,000 every day. This is the only national team. EDGAR, I will not answer that. This is the only national team that has actually received. EDGAR, this is the only team that's actually FUFA is the only federation that has received 17 billion from the national budget. EDGAR. Boxing is struggling. Volleyball is struggling. Beach soccer is struggling. Netball is struggling. Athletics is struggling. Football is struggling. Everything is struggling. The Federation of Uganda Football Association is getting the huge chunk from the national budget. EDGAR, I just can't. We should not become emotional here on set, but we can confirm that the national team is well catered for. But the problem is we are not producing results. Questions: why are we not producing? Away from that, Brighton have actually managed to complete a deal for a teenager, 19 years old, coming in from Boca Juniors, and this guy Valentin has been exceptional for Boca Juniors, scoring 15 out of 25 and assisting 7. He is now a Brighton member. Away from that, Edgar, we have seen the talks of Kylian Mbappe transfer escalating. Yesterday, Nasser Al-Khalifi, the owner of Paris Saint-Germain, came to address the media and said he still has some time to talk to Kylian Mbappe. However, Kylian is not ready to extend his contract at Paris Saint-Germain. Away from that, we have seen the likes of Arsenal struggling to sign Ivan Toney from Brentford. However, Ivan Toney's ban and suspension ends this January. He was suspended for anti-doping. He was suspended for the likes of betting. He was involved in betting and use of drugs. However, later, yeah, these guys, every player does betting, but it depends on the way you're betting, Edgar. If you are caught, if they get evidence against you to pin you, then you are always suspended. Away from that, Manchester United have actually announced that they will not be busy in this January transfer, citing FIFA financial fair play rules, and they said they have to keep that discipline. Away from that, we really think Manchester United should have had a number of signings. However, they are in talks with Anthony Martial to extend his contract at Old Trafford, and
Martial to extend his contract to undo what?
Edgar will not talk about that. Sevilla is in talks with Manchester to sign Hannibal Mijebri as well as Fenerbahce, and AS Monaco is also interested in signing Facundo Pellistri, that Uruguayan who plays at Manchester United. But you really look at Erik ten Hag and you think he's not serious. Why would you let a player like Facundo Pellistri enter negotiations with a certain club when you do not have this right wing properly set, especially in terms of players? You have Anthony, he's not performing well. You have I will not be party to that.
He comes back at 3 p.m. every day to do the sports zone. So the sports zone, so don't touch you there. We continue with the morning break. Thank you very much, Jasper, for coming. Of course, he will be back here tomorrow morning at 7:30, and we do this every other single weekday. We're going to take a breather. When we return, the morning blaze continues.